The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those knuckleheads of liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty. We're coming at you on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. I guess I'm pulling a little bit of a Biden. But
that's a Joe Biden moment, yes.
There you go. And well, we're getting pretty close to Mother's Day, and so this is going to be a kind of a sort of a Mother's-related theme to the show. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. And he is a pilot in the state of California. In my upper right-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. And my name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So getting right into it, it's sort of a Mother's Day edition, and what better to talk about than all of this crazy leaking at the Supreme Court, sort of the mother of all leaks, I guess, at the Supreme Court on abortion. So the Roe versus Wade is coming. Maybe we could get a visual on this. Roe versus Wade is coming up, and the first time ever this topic has been, or a decision that has in draft form has been leaked to the press. And so that's never happened before, and so everybody's speculating it's probably a left activist, because it is the decision is going to strike down Roe, it sounds like. Which
apparently.
Yes, that's what it sounds like from what's been leaked to the press. And of course, it was kind of odd. The leak happened, and suddenly all these different media outlets had it, and there was a mob outside the Supreme Court right away. So it's almost like it was orchestrated, you might say. But anyways, this is apparently is going to send it back to the state. So every state will have their be able to put their own ideas onto this. And so, two sort of big issues on this: both the idea that it's there was this crazy leak that could potentially, because this isn't a final decision yet, right? So maybe there'll be pressure on justices now, which has never happened, to try and change their opinions before they actually give their final signature on these things, I guess. And so there's that. And then the idea that now we're going to have all this activity in the states on figuring out what abortion rights to be. But before you start saying, hey, isn't this just a bunch of guys talking about abortion? We don't need to hear that again. But fortunately, the left has given us an in so that now all of us can talk. All of us have a voice on abortion. This may not have been the case 5 years ago, but today this is the norm, apparently, with the left. So we all get to have our voice. Anyways, let me throw it to you guys. And this is just an image of the justices here to give a little flavor to all this. What do you guys think of all this?
The hypocrisy involved in all of this is so amazing and stunning. It's unbelievable. On one hand, we have a Supreme Court justice, soon to be, who could not define woman. But yet, when this thing was leaked, and everybody knew, it's apparent that the Supreme Court will now strike down Roe versus Wade and also strike down Casey, which was one of the supplemental decisions that boosted the ruling in Roe versus Wade. All of a sudden now they have just discovered that there's something called woman. Before we didn't know, we couldn't define it. A Supreme Court justice, she will be there soon. She couldn't define woman because she's not a biologist. But suddenly, when they find out that Roe versus Wade may be struck down, all of a sudden we found out, well, this is going to be an infringement upon the rights of women. How amazing that this turnaround have occurred in a matter of weeks, that suddenly we know who a woman is. This is truly, truly amazing. But the leak, though, is something very serious. Very, very serious. In the sense that this is a breach of trust. Because all of the employees there within the Supreme Court, all the clerks and everybody else, they have taken a solemn oath to hold all of their stuff confidential until the Supreme Court issues a final decision. But yet, someone who want to have it their way, her, he or she, I don't know, maybe it's a multitude of them who did this, I don't know. But they are trying to influence a court in a way that they think is the just outcome. And we cannot have this. So I hope this is investigated. I do not know what laws have been broken, if there were any, but if there are any laws broken, I hope someone is prosecuted or some bodies are prosecuted for the breach of trust that have occurred by leaking this draft decision written by Samuel Alito.
Yeah, I agree too. I think that's the most serious one. I don't even at this point want to talk about, the Roe v. Wade thing. No, it's just the whole the leak, like Leon says. I mean, it's super serious. And yeah, they should be prosecuted. Everything Leon said, I agree with, and so there's that facet, and then there's the facet of these protests now. Apparently, because of the leak, now they are politicizing, like they try to politicize everything. Politicize your pork chops you're having for dinner or your spaghetti. I mean, they got to politicize everything. They can't leave anything alone. So of course, the Supreme Court, same thing. Can't leave it alone. Got to politicize it and got to try to influence it politically with these protests and all this other nonsense. Well, sorry, that's not how it's supposed to be. And this. Hopefully, the Supreme Court will, take the higher ground here and not give in to any of this pressure and just rule the way they normally rule, which is based on their interpretation of constitutional law, the law of the land, and that's it. Sorry, folks, it doesn't matter how many. It's not democratic. Sorry, it was just based on the Constitution. At this point, it's not democratic.
Yeah. According to what we learned from the leak, right now there's a 5-3 decision. I think John Roberts have not yet decided where he's going to fall on this, but there's a 5-3 decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, if that do not turn out to be the case, that means some one of the justices would have changed his or her mind. Now, it is normal. A justice may change their mind, from time to time. It does happen, okay? But if a justice now change his or her mind because of the leak, or make it appear that it changed because of the leak, then these things are going to happen in the future. That as soon as a decision is coming out that somebody don't agree with, or somebody find, oh my goodness gracious, this is an attack on women, attack on blacks, an attack on whoever, they're going to start leaking these decisions. And sooner or later...
Don't forget that. Oh my God, they're going to rule in favor of gun control. It's a close tie. We better leak this one.
There you go. Exactly. So it will encourage, if the justices give into this in any way, shape, or form, or even appear to give into this,
well,
this is just going to incentivize more leaks.
Well, this is almost incentivizing an insurrection, you might say, because after all, this was a government body that was getting ready to essentially set constitutional or clarify constitutional law for the nation. And if the intent was to get a mob of people out there to violently protest, to change.
Oh my God, that's right.
That sounds like an insurrection to me.
It's
no doubt.
You know what it is? Also, aside from that, it's a coup. It's another coup.
Yes.
Because they're talking about the. So all these liberal idiots that I see talking here, there, everywhere. They're talking about the coup. There's a coup that happened on January 6th. So I looked up first of all, I had to look up, okay, now what, I think I know what a coup means, but let me look it up. Okay, a coup d'etat, coup for short, French, by the way, COUP. And so I looked up, and in the course of looking, of course, the definition is nothing like what happened on the 6th. Maybe that's why Wikipedia, in its list of all coups going back historically, for some reason, they left out the January 6th coup, apparently. Yeah, I can't figure out why. If it was such a horrible coup, you would think that Wikipedia would have put it into their adjusted it, because, they've had plenty of time to adjust and put in the coup that occurred on January 6th. But no. And so why? I don't know.
Yeah, it's beyond human intelligence to figure that one out, Tim. Really, it is. It really is.
I've got to say too on this, I think some of us have different ideas on abortion, but I mean, I'm saying that this is something that this person, if they get caught, whoever leaked this, should be treated rather harshly, as the law will allow.
Yes.
And yet, I am actually, for somebody who is more on the pro-choice side of things on this. It's not necessarily because I want to see abortions happen. I just don't want the government to have the birth police running around out there looking under every lady's skirt. So I mean, that's kind of, at least where I'm kind of coming from. So it's not that you can be principled on this and be pro-choice and still be against what happened in this particular circumstance. So anyways,
well, are you saying this person, if they find them, that should be aborted?
Well,
yeah, post-pregnancy abortion.
Yes,
before that,
well, at least, at the very least, their freedom should be aborted. Yes.
All righty.
Well, speaking of some of the confusion along these similar issues around Mother's Day, maybe we can get the image back up again too. And this is just sort of what the left gives us with all this confusion. I mean, it was we just got introduced to this emoji like about a year or two ago. So who knew that men could have babies? Well, anyways, apparently this is part and parcel to what kids are being taught in the school now, and there's apparently an effort in a lot of these schools to talk to kids about transitioning from one sex to another without talking to the parents about it. If a teacher thinks that your kid is showing signs maybe that they're uncomfortable with their gender, they may start to have a program for them that you as a parent don't know about. And this is happening. This particular story is from Florida, where a mother apparently had her kid, did not know that they were, I guess, working on changing the kid's name at school and other things like that. And there's been other cases too. We attached a Newsweek article here too, where apparently some parents in Michigan are suing some different school districts there that were doing the same thing. So anyways, you guys have any thoughts on this? Just all this confusion around what a woman is around Mother's Day?
Well, if I could just say one thing, because I'm saving my tirade for the next subject similar to this. But all I would say is, the schools are failing miserably at teaching the kids, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and yet they've got time for this nonsense. Seriously, yes. They can't even teach mathematics. They can't teach anything. Anything, no matter what the subject is. And we lag behind so many developed nations. I don't know. Leon probably knows the stats on where we are, but I mean, it ain't good. Okay, folks, America ain't getting educated. Okay, and therefore, if you aren't even doing job 1, maybe you ought to stop doing jobs 2, 3, 4, and 5. And go back and do job 1 the right way.
Well, it ain't even their job in the first case, Seriously,
Well,
it ain't even their job.
Job 1 was reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's
I know job 1, but the job 3 and 4 and 5, which was
you're right.
Propaganda.
Yes, you're right.
That ain't their job. Yeah. That ain't their job.
It ain't. That's correct. Pardon my confusion there.
No,
correct.
No problem. But there's a very big issue here that's going on, and this is all part and parcel of it. Okay. parental rights are being undermined by the public schools. It's really a large attack on Western civilizations, okay, on Western civilization in general. Now, who could know about your child better than the parent? Who could know that? Some bureaucrat sitting in a district office somewhere, or bureaucrat in Sacramento, or bureaucrat in Washington, D.C., could know more about your child than you, the parent? No. But these people, these ideologues, these propagandists in the government, in the teachers' unions, in the teaching service, think they could control and influence your child more than you can, you the parent. This is a direct attack on Western civilization. They want to form and shape the minds of the next generation so that when they get out of school, out of high school, and they get into college, and they get out into the real world, they could start advocating for more attacks upon Western civilization. This is what they are doing. They're building an army. They're trying to build an army of people, an army of activists who will try to undermine all of the values of Western civilizations. This is what they are trying to do. And we better be very careful about where we go from here, because these people are not going to stop. They are not going to stop. So where the public schools are concerned, we have to do something about that, because these people are doing nothing but trying to manipulate our children into making life-altering decisions. Okay, that things that parents should be doing, they are trying to influence our children to do that under their care, not under our care, under their care. This is like China. This is like communist China. So we better be very careful here. Very, very careful. And yes, I'm going to say it again. We need school choice to fix this problem, and we need it soon and fast.
Yeah, certainly school choice is the answer. And this way, you know, parents who are really into this kind of stuff, they can still choose that. I mean, it's it ends the tyranny for both sides. But, you know, one thing that's kind of interesting in the logic, you know, of the left on this, that the left seems to think that with respect to COVID, that you don't own your own body. But somehow when there's a child inside of a woman, somehow then you do own your own body, and have, you know, the community has no say in the life of that child. And then it's funny then, because then when the kid gets to high school, suddenly they think that the community has more of a right than the parent to raise that child. So it's, I don't know. It's just kind of, it seems like they're all over the place. Without, I guess, the double standard, they wouldn't have any standards, maybe.
Exactly. But you see, in their mind, it's the ends that they are concerned about. The ends justify the means. They don't care. They don't care whether their logic is faulty because of their one position versus another. They don't care about that. They care about the ends. They care about this utopia they're going to create. And everything is going to be nice and wonderful if we just follow their direction, their rules, and their instructions. That's all they care about. The ends justify the means. That's it, period.
Yeah. Well, and unless you think this is just some one-off local issue that's just happening in one place or another, this is really kind of coming top down right now. And maybe we can get to the next image here. So Javier Becerra is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and apparently he has some trouble identifying whether or not a man can be pregnant. We found out recently I guess he had to give testimony in front of Congress, and so Lauren Boebert, I think she's a Republican congressperson, she was interviewing him and asking him some questions. And he was trying to drag his feet every which way, but he could, to try and not say that a man can't have a baby. And this is who we have at Health and Human Services. And as we just saw, this is not the only case. Here we also have our recent Supreme Court nominee, and who's on the current court. And she is, also had trouble in being able to define what a woman is. And, who can blame them if if this is kind of the way people are thinking nowadays, right? But one of the things that's disturbing is in that discussion, she was trying to get at, will the government essentially support sex changes for kids? You're talking about people who are minors, who are too young to make decisions, to bind themselves to a contract, to go out and buy a gun, to join the military, to buy a drink, and yet they can make a decision that's going to impact the entire rest of their lives by essentially, I guess I don't know how else to say it, but mutilating their genitals.
Exactly.
So I don't know. What do you guys have to say about all this?
Okay, this is where I go on my tirade. Can we talk about his suggestion that the government pay for sex changes on children? Is this where I get to cut loose?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, but before I do that, I would like to recommend that Lauren and Tulsi run for president and vice president, and I don't care which one's which. Number one, I want to just clear that out of the air. Get that
Split ticket.
All right, but we're $30 trillion in debt. If this is the way the direction of the country is going to go, where the government is going to pay for sex changes on children, we deserve what we get. Here's what we deserve. We deserve to collapse monetarily and all of us to end up impoverished, walking around begging for food and nobody can find any. Okay, that's what we deserve. And if and when that happens, if you run around going, God, why did you forsake us? It wasn't God that forsook us. It was us that forsook God, okay? That's what happened. And this kind of complete and utter, unbelievable nonsense is going to ruin a country already on a trajectory toward ruin. Ruin, folks, at 30 trillion and counting. And this kind of stuff they got money for this. They got money for this, but they can't even pay for the stuff they've already bought. Most of that was nonsense too.
Just to make it real for everybody, 30 trillion is like that's in the neighborhood of $100,000 a person. So a family, like $400,000 or so. It's just absolutely crazy.
There you go. Hit it, Leon.
Oh, well, this thing about ruining the country is so true, and I totally agree, Tim, that all of these things, these madness that is happening in our society, cannot end well for us unless we do something about it, and do something about it pretty soon. Apple has a operating system called iOS. There's a political operating system, and it's called insanity on steroids. That's our iOS, and that's what's going on. We have insanity on steroids going on. Here we have a government official who cannot say. I mean, since the dawn of time, we know women get pregnant, men do not. And now we have a government official in 2022 cannot say that a man cannot get pregnant. You know why? Because his political affiliations, which is the transgender movement, is now trying to tell us that men could get pregnant. That is what they're trying to tell us. Even though all of us know, all the science says that cannot happen. But Mr. Becerra and Biden and all these other people, all of a sudden, they have finally discovered, despite our 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 years of history, they have finally discovered that they are just birthing people. It's not women having children or women getting pregnant. We are just birthing people. It could be a woman today and it could be a man tomorrow. We are all birthing people. This is insanity. And this will lead, if left unchecked, will lead to the collapse of Western civilization and the collapse of the United States of America as we know it. Something bad is going to happen as a result of all this craziness.
And do we deserve it?
Well, for going along with public ed, I think this is the price.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. Somebody elected these total
these clowns.
idiots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very good question you're asking, Tim. I don't know which one. I think it was one of the founders or somebody in our history. I don't remember, but they did say that we deserve the government that we elect, right?
Yep.
So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now.
And our audience deserves to get to Knucklehead Noise Patrol. So here we go.
Yeah.
But it's totally related. And you had a great segue into that because we're talking about calling people birthing people now. I mean, we can't even, our government officials are literally just gaslighting us on not being able to say that it's a woman who gives birth. And I mean, we're coming up on Mother's Day, and what are they going to celebrate in some of these places? I don't know. I mean, are they going to celebrate some? We got to give this guy a name. We keep bringing him up. I vote Jody. What do you guys?
Jody. Yeah, Jody.
Jody. Okay,
Jody's
so
pregnant.
We'll say Jody. That's our mascot, Jody.
Yeah.
But anyways, apparently in New York, in New York City, the top health official apparently is calling some people birthing people, but now they've added their racial element to it. It's only white women that they're calling birthing people, but they're still calling blacks and Hispanics mothers. So it's just beyond the pale. And this is a picture of the top official there. And her direct quote is, she said, "The urgency of the moment is clear. Mortality rates of birthing people are too high, and babies born to Black and Puerto Rican mothers in this city are 3 times more likely to die in their first year of life than babies born to non-Hispanic white birthing people." So, anyway, you guys have anything to say about this madness? And apparently, Hochul is kind of driving some of this stuff too over there.
Well, you cannot be surprised that the Democratic Party is loaded with a bunch of racists. Even though they try to dress themselves up as caring for the poor, caring for blacks, caring for other minorities, they are nothing but a bunch of racists trying to tell themselves that they're so good and so wonderful they could save us. They could save us, mean people like me, people who happen to be black, they could save us. And they could save us with their damn racism. Who the hell care about the fact that, this one is birthing person, but that one is a mother? Who the hell cares about that if you're really talking about a health issue? Who the hell cares about that? Only a racist does. Okay? So thank you for your racism, but we don't care about it.
Yeah, well, a couple seconds left. Okay, this is easy. I agree with Leon.
There you go. And everybody out there, as best as you can with what the government's doing, have a happy Mother's Day. Until then,
indeed,
stay free.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.